18 states have joined the Lone Star State to defend the integrity of our elections before the highest court in the land. President Donald Trump deserves his day in court, the Supreme Court. And all I can say is God bless Texas.
Texas is suing 4 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. They exploited COVID, that's the allegation, I believe it, to basically rearrange the rules to skew the election results. That's the outline of the case. How do you get this thing heard in the Supreme Court? All the legal experts on cable news, experts in quotes, say this isn't going to happen.
Well, you know, the Supreme Court, a couple of justices have said when a state sues another state, their jurisdiction is mandatory and they have to take it. That's not been the position of a majority of the court in recent decades, but I think it's right. But in any event, with 18 states now in and the president of the United States himself, the press to exercise whatever discretion they have to take the case and hear it is extremely strong. And look, I think both sides ought to have this resolved. I mean, half of the country thinks this election was stolen, including, according to Rasmussen, 30% of Democrats. If that's true, why would even the Biden camp not want to actually have a court look at the data, look at the violations of state law that occurred, to loosen the fraud risk protections on absentee ballots? Why would they not want to get this cleared up? So if they do win the election after a fair review, they can come in as a more legitimate president. If the Supreme Court says a slate of electors was chosen unconstitutionally, then obviously that can't be the determining factor in the election.
Okay. So at this point, what are the mechanics? How's it going to go down? Are you waiting for a phone call at any minute? I mean, like, how are we going to find out their decision? What's going to happen? And answer that first, if you don't mind.
Well, the Supreme Court asked the 4 states to have their briefs in opposition in by 3 o'clock today, and they were all in. And I suspect the Supreme Court's going to meet in conference tomorrow to decide whether to grant Texas's motion to file the original action. And then they'll confront the issue like President Trump's motion to intervene. If they grant that Texas motion, they'll set a briefing schedule. They could even appoint a special master to look at some of the underlying allegations of fraud. It's an original action, so they're here acting like a trial court, which is not their normal role. Normally, they end up appointing a trial judge to serve as special master to try and sort through the evidentiary issues. But the principal legal issue is that states, and they acknowledge this, they violated their own state laws or ignored their state laws that were put in place to protect against fraud. And because the legislature of the state has the sole authority under the federal constitution, those actions by state election officials were just patently unconstitutional.
Very short order after you had states, 18 states ended up on the side with Texas, 20 plus some territories on the side of the 4 states that Texas was suing. You had 126 Republican members of the House of Representatives, including the GOP leader, Kevin McCarthy. You had 2 states saying you need to hear this case, but it came down to 2 very short paragraphs from the Supreme Court.
State of Texas motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. The court went on to say that Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. All other pending motions are dismissed.
I think the Supreme Court arguably was wrong in that assessment.